And now we are going to do a little thing that we call bonus content. So all of us here who have given a speech, who have given a talk, have gone through and researched the hell out of it and found lots and lots of rabbit holes that we go down, and then we have to trim them. And so this is mine from the beginning of this talk. So here's what. I first encountered the phrase, "here's how," in an article about a bar in Oakland that shut down. It had been named after a famous cocktail book. Okay, cool. So I'm a book nerd, right? So I go online and I buy a copy, I read it. It's really interesting, I put it aside, and I'm happy, right? I found out much later that Here's How was a blockbuster Prohibition-era cocktail book based on and the title is based on old-fashioned toast. And I kind of went, freeze frame, record scratch. This book is from 1939. This is the wrong book. So on I go to the book search, and it turns out that there are a ton of books that are about cocktails called Here's How, like about 6. And at some point, they got a little mad at each other about it, and this guy tried to trademark it. Wild. And it actually became a meme, like, in the 20s and 30s. So it was like, here's how to paint things. Here's how to fix your transmission. Here's how to grow dahlias. Here's how to do good in golf. And it was such a meme that, like, when I was researching this on Google Books, one of the things I ran into was the reports from a dog show. And one of the winning dogs was named Here's How. They named the dog Here's How. So the most famous of these cocktail books is, this one is penned by a man who went by Judge Jr. It was the nom de plume of a man named Norman Hume Anthony, and he was the editor of a couple of different humor magazines over his lifetime. One of his first posts, he took this magazine called Judge, which had a lot of sort of Norman Rockwell, wholesome-ish, genteel humor. And he turned it into a bawdy, brightly colored, cartoon-style, jazz-age flapper thing. Are some of you yelling maps and some of you are yelling sex? Sex! I picked it for the aesthetics, and I forgot that there was a saxophone on it. I see. Okay, all right, so. This change pissed off all of his older subscribers so much that after a couple of years he got fired, and so he went on to form a different one. Now, this one is sex. A different magazine called Ballyhoo, which only lasted like a year or two, but it was super, super popular. They're very collectible, and they're also super raunchy. And it turns out that this genre is like an unbroken lineage back to Norman Hume Anthony and ending in Mad Magazine. Yeah. Okay, so back to the booze. Here's How was first published in 1926. So if you remember, Prohibition starts in 1920. This dude is publishing this thing smack dab in the middle of Prohibition. Brave. So, of course, he made it like super cartoony, and it's full of jokes and like humorous toasts and recipes that are presented with euphemisms. He's got like a glossary, so when he talks about Gordon water, what he means is Gordon's gin, right? The whole book is presented as a joke, and it's sold as a novelty, like a gag gift. Like you would get, the plastic dog poo, or, like the hand buzzer. It was advertised in these very weird advertisements because one of the things that Judge Magazine got famous for under Norman Anthony's editorship was making these really surreal advertisements where you really couldn't tell if it was a joke. Like, that lady's eyes are crossed. They're making fun of like a food supplement ad to sell this book. But it was a real book. Like, it's a real book. It's real, and it has real recipes. And so real that some of them were lifted and used to pad out the much more famous 1930s Savoy cocktail book. But the fact that it was crass and irreverent and full of cartoons gave it cover, so it's still, it's still a joke book. This is the Barbary Coast as done by Judge Jr. and the Barbary Coast cocktail as done by some guy who fled to England. So this cover of being like, this is a joke book, this isn't serious, ha ha ha, if you make these drinks, you get what's coming to you, that gave them cover. And so people just started publishing cocktail books because they're like, oh yeah, they could just say, well, I'm just not as funny as Judge Jr. And that actually set the tone for cocktail book writers for years and years and years and years. Like the Trader Vic book from the 1960s is still in this sort of style. So then there's the other part, which is here's how it's a toast. Toast itself is like super etymologically murky. I found instances of it going all the way back to like 1810, like just in the scanned literature. So that's like Jane Austen Bridgerton for folks who don't do numbers. It's in Kipling. It's in a lot of sentimental military poetry. And the best evidence I can find for this is actually from the Dictionary of Slang, which provides pairs of invitations to drink and their replies. So, how do you take it? Here's how. And this is where it touches my San Francisco talk again. SF really cemented that name during Prohibition because you would say, here's to San Francisco, the city that knows how. And everyone would say, and here's how. So let's do it one more time. Here's to San Francisco, the city that knows how.